We have more late-breaking news from the federal courthouse where a judge has ruled that the Air Force is mostly to blame for the shooting at Sutherland Springs Church in 2017 that left 26 dead.
In his ruling, Judge Javier Rodriguez said the Air Force is 60% to blame, saying it failed to enter Devin Kelley's 2012 court-martial information into an FBI database. That criminal history would have prevented him from legally purchasing firearms used in that shooting. He went on to write that the trial held earlier this year, quote, established no one, not even Kelley's parents or partners, knew as much as the United States about the violence that Kelley had threatened to commit and was capable of committing.
Here is the one time I'm actually going to agree with the anti-gun groups. Welcome to another installment of Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC, P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. Let's talk about this. The incident that happened at Sutherland Springs, Texas. If you remember, a man walked into a church and started shooting, killed 26 people, and I don't have a wounded number, but several people were wounded. But what has happened, the victim's family, in a strange twist from other incidents which I've spoken about, are suing the government because the government failed to report the shooter's violent history, which then would put him into the NICS system, which would not have allowed him to buy these guns. And this is being supported by numerous anti-gun groups, and I'm going to agree with them because the government failed in this matter of not reporting this man's history, which, if you remember, he was in the Air Force, and he was expelled from the Air Force, and from the information that is provided, you're going to find that he had an incredibly, just a continuous violent history to himself, his wife, his children, so forth. But I'm going to jump in a little bit here. I'm going to jump into this Washington Post article. Air Force failed 6 times to get guns from Texas church shooter before he killed 26, report finds. And the one thing I give credit to these people in Sutherland Springs, from everything I have seen, they are not suing, unlike other people, they are not suing the gun manufacturer or the person who sold the gun. I give them credit for that. But 26 worshipers who Devin Patrick Kelley shot and killed may not have seen him coming, but the Air Force did. The service failed 6 times to submit records to the FBI that would have barred the troubled former airman from buying the guns that he used in the November 2017 massacre at a church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, a Pentagon Inspector General's report concluded. On at least 4 occasions during and after criminal proceedings against Kelley concerning domestic violence, the Air Force should have submitted the former service member's fingerprints to the FBI Criminal Justice Information Services Division. The 131-page report concludes, on 2 other occasions, it should have been submitted to the FBI at the final disposition report, which states the results of a case after proceedings occur. In each instance, it did not. All of those things would have flagged him for buying a firearm using the NICS system. Okay. I'm coming down to here. Because of these oversights, Kelley's name never showed up in NICS, even though he was convicted in 2012 in a general court-martial of assaulting his wife and stepson. He legally bought 4 firearms, 3 of which he used to kill 26 people and wound nearly 2 dozen more during the attack at the First Baptist Church of Sutherland Springs. I also want to point out that he was hindered and stopped by a civilian who used an AR-15. Okay, I'm pretty sure I got his picture up here. That story disappeared very quickly when that happened, and for obvious reasons. But the Inspector General's report outlines all 6 protocol missteps by the Air Force, factors that led to the breakdown, including inexperienced special agents, individual personal issues at the time, leadership gaps, and a high operation tempo, according to the report. Agents and security forces lack sufficient training in fingerprint collection. The final report states that the factors provide context for but do not excuse the failures. The report concludes there was no valid reason for the Air Force blunders. Okay, now I'm going to come down, okay, where we hear the extensive report outlines the disciplinary actions Kelly faced during his time as an active member of the Air Force, which he joined in January 2010. It traces how Kelly came to be a dangerous threat and how the Air Force repeatedly failed to follow policies meant to prevent someone like Kelly from hurting himself or others. Between July 2011, March 2012, less than a year, according to the report, Kelly accumulated 13 separate administrative punishments for behavior that varied in seriousness, including wearing headphones while in uniform, texting during class, failing to perform basic job duties, and lying to a female supervisor about calling her a derogatory name. Okay, that's all nonsense there, but it's the violent stuff that's really the most important. It's in this report here, you can read this, I'll leave it in the links below, but he was charged with hurting his 11-month-old son. He was charged with intimidating his wife with a revolver. He put a round into the revolver and spun it like in Russian roulette. Put it to his head 3 times, pulled the trigger 3 times, then pointed at his wife. I mean, it goes on, and he voluntarily was admitted to a medical care facility, and what they call an adjustment disorder with depressive mood. I mean, this guy's just got nonstop problems, but none of this was reported to the system. So I'm gonna jump over here. Another Washington Post article, gun control groups urge government to stop or drop Sutherland Springs appeal. Come right down to here. Last year, this U.S. district judge found that the government was 60% liable for the attack because it failed to submit records that should have prevented the shooter from buying guns, among other missteps. A few months later, the judge ordered the government to pay the victims more than $230 million in damages, but the Justice Department appealed the ruling, which has left survivors struggling to pay expensive ongoing medical bills. It's interesting how the government can, despite their missteps, has appealed, yet the gun manufacturers are just supposed to pay when they're accused of missteps. Interesting, right? But here they are. In a letter signed by Brady, March for Our Lives in Every Town for Gun Safety, the organization said it was well past time for the government to take responsibility for its failures and lethal inaction that led to the deadly 2007 shooting. 26 people were killed and 20 others wounded when a former airman, Devin Kelly, armed with an AR-15 style rifle, opened fire inside the First Baptist Church of Sutherland Springs in November 2017. Okay, fine. Okay. Now, as I said, here's the one time I'm going to agree with these anti-gun groups. The government is responsible in this case because it failed to disclose this man's history, continual, not just a one-time incident, continual violent history and mental health problems, and they failed to report it to the NICS or to the FBI, which then would put it in the NICS, which wouldn't have flagged him from buying a gun. Now, would that have stopped him from getting a gun? No, but it definitely would have hindered his ability to do so. But as I said, I'll leave all this information in the background, in the description box, so you can read it. But as I said before, the people at Sutherland Springs have not sued the rifle manufacturer or the gun store or anyone else. They have sued the government directly because they claim that they are responsible for not disclosing that information to the FBI via the Air Force. And they are correct. They are correct. This information should have been put into the check system. But, so here it is, there it is, and probably the last time. I am in agreement in this case with these anti-gun groups, specifically with this case. But first time for everything, right? Broken clock. Let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.